Welcome to the Dear Doc Podcast, where we will discuss the business of running a dental practice with a panel of experts. Now, your host, Dr. Christopher Hoffpower.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us for another episode of the Dear Doc Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Hoffpower, and today we are joined by Nicole Perry. Now, Nicole works with CareStack, which, as you guys know, I'm a huge fan of. In fact, Nicole, I've told people that if they're doing a new startup, that it is a no-brainer to get CareStack, particularly if they ever expect to use any kind of third-party software to integrate different functions into their practice. So talk to me a little bit about CareStack as a company, how you got involved with them, what you do, and what is the unique selling proposition for CareStack, both to new dentists starting a scratch startup practice, to group practices, and to your solo practitioner. I know that's a big mouthful, but go ahead and tick them off. First of all, introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Hoffpower, for having me. As Dr. Hoffpower said, my name is Nicole Perry, and I am from CareStack. A little bit of background information on CareStack. So we got started in 2015. We were contracted to build a software platform for a 3-location practice in Florida, and then became commercially viable at the end of 2016, beginning of 2017. And that's kind of where CareStack got the name. Well, really, we got this name CareStack because you're stacking all these different solutions together on an often basis. You're finding things like Dentrix, EagleSoft, Open Dental, and then you're stacking on, like you said, all those third parties, Dr. Hoffpower. Where CareStack comes in, and it's a 100% cloud-based solution, and it has all those parties technically already built into the platform. So you get things like charting, billing, scheduling, online appointment booking, patient portals, virtual consent forms, business analytics that everyone's looking for these days, two-way texting with patients, things like that.
I know you're desperately trying not to mention the names of any third-party people, because you also work with all those third-party softwares. If someone just likes their solution and for some unknown reason decides they want to spend more money than they have to, you can actually use those bolt-on solutions. So I know you guys don't want to alienate anybody by mentioning any names, like the names they probably can't mention either. So anyway, just to clear that up, you can still use your software that you're used to using if you decide you want to spend more money for no reason.
Yeah, good. And then you asked like how I got started here, which
yes,
I'm not actually quite sure how I got here. I had just graduated college.
Had you had a lot to drink? That might account for that.
Oh, I probably did. A lot of wine was probably factored into my decision. I actually think I signed my agreement here while I was on the boat at the lake. So yeah, maybe a few drinks were in the system at that point. But I was actually interviewing with Benco at that point. Obviously another dental company. My fiance's family is in dental. So it was just kind of the natural decision to migrate towards the dental industry. And I knew Dan, and I was actually referred to Dan by Benco. And that's where I met Dan, who's now my boss today. And I just have been here since. I don't know. I'm just going along for the ride. I feel like when I started here, it was a startup, even though it had been a few years, because I started in 2015 and I joined summer of 2018.
Right.
But it's become such a long way in the last 3 years that it's just crazy to think that I was part of that ride and that journey, because who we were in 2018 is completely different than who we are today.
It truly has, because, I mean, your initial focus, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't the initial partner an orthodontist or something? Had 3 practices, so you were a multi-practice ortho software. And that's honestly, one of the questions people ask a lot is specialists will say, well, doc, look, does this thing handle endodontics? Does it handle ortho? Does it handle, whatever? And I'll tell them, look, for ortho, it definitely handles ortho, because that's what it's created for to begin with. So talk to me a little bit about those types of specialty practices and some of the unique features that CareStack has for those particular practices.
No, that's a great question. So CareStack was, like, as you mentioned, was built for a 3-location group in Florida. In one of their locations alone, they had over 45 chairs. They had every specialty you could possibly think of: ortho, pedo, general, oral surgery. They had it all. Like, this practice, when I would go there, I would get lost in it. there were doors everywhere. I could not find my way out. I always had someone lead me through it to see how everything was going over there. And keep in mind, that was only at one of their locations. So their other two locations did have multi-specialty as well, as they serviced Walt Disney employees. So, and yes, we were founded by an orthodontist and then two tech gurus. So we do service all specialties, and it can fit all of those platforms. Like just yesterday, we got prosthodontists, periodontists, and pedos that onboarded. So it is a great platform to have all of those different specialties built in. I know right now we're seeing a big influx with like the number of pedo clients as well, because there are some cool things built into CareStack that pedos are typically looking for in their software platforms, whether it's like drawing or supernumerary teeth, things like that will show on the chart.
Oh my
so
God, that would be
there
so
are features
nice.
built in.
That's so nice. I didn't even know we had that. I'm gonna have to go looking.
You got to look on the little tooth chart icon on the far left on the legend. You'll be able to see all of the conditions and treatments that you have.
Can I put like teeth coming out at weird angles, like those kids who have like the canine that's erupting facially or something?
They have
Maybe
like
not.
arrows for that. There's some arrows that can like
cool.
point different ways. There's a free drawing tool. You could like point it in all different directions
Then
if you want
I'd
to.
have to be able to draw. So I don't know if that's going to work out well. But so talk a little bit more about some of the different specialties that have been successful in integrating with CareStack. And the reason I say that is because, in all honesty, I think that one of the unique selling propositions that CareStack has that it doesn't get mentioned a lot, because, I mention a lot, Glenn mentions a lot, Dan, and, everybody mentions that, it's got all this stuff that's built in. You don't have to worry about your analytics having a separate program. You don't have to worry about reminders. You don't have to worry about text to pay. You don't have to worry about online scheduling. It's all there. And those are really great selling propositions. But in a very real way, to me, one of the biggest selling propositions that CareStack has is the fact that it eliminates the clutter. Because, you look out there, and it was actually a conversation I was having with one of the founders of another dental company this morning, is that there's so much overlap in so many of these programs. And I typically see a dental practice having 3 or 4 bolt-on solutions in addition to their PMS or their EHR. And so, all of those solutions almost universally have overlap. It might be in the reminders, it might be in the SMS, or whatever, or MMS. It might be in, I don't know, paperless or what have you. But the thing about CareStack is you've got all of it.
Yes, we do. I hate to say yeah, of course we do. But yes, we do have all of that. And you're right. There is a lot of overlap in some of those third-party softwares. Like a big one is, I have a patient engagement tool. But then they have something for online appointment booking, not knowing that their patient engagement tool already offers online appointment booking.
Exactly. Or they just don't like the way it does it. That's
the thing that we are seeing. A lot of people will, even with some cloud-based solutions nowadays, we're seeing that people are bolting on other solutions. And my first question is, when they come to CareStack looking, I'm always like, why do you have that? Well, I just like the way it does this better. Okay, that's fair.
Right.
But you're right, CareStack is just all-inclusive, and it does declutter a lot of things. And I mean, I'm the queen of clutter. I have hundreds of tabs open every day. I am losing track of things. I have, 8 windows down there open right now. And one of our clients, I think, said the most powerful thing. We actually hosted a webinar with her, and she said that she saves an hour to an hour and a half a day on the insurance side. An hour and a half a day is 8 hours a week. So she gets one whole day back in her week. Do you take Fridays off now? Do you take Mondays off now? What do you do? She's oh no, but now I just have time to focus it on other things, help train new staff members.
So where does she save? Where does she save that time? What specific functionalities? Because I know that there's some of them that I really like. So which ones is she saving time with?
She said she's saving them all on the insurance side for the most part. So whether it's doing the electronic eligibility and verification using the intelligent eligibility form, the fact that claims all come back into CareStack because the clearinghouse is already integrated, but also insurance payment posting, because most people nowadays are going patient to patient to post those insurance checks,
right?
Which is a lot of clicks and a lot of time. Whereas now you just enter in that bulk check and it's going to pull a list of all those patients that are awaiting a payment by that carrier. And you can work through that entire check in one screen, but also have the patient's insurance information all on the right-hand side. So she didn't have to open more tabs, jump around screen to screen. Because that's a big thing. People will come to CareStack and say, well, I have the most I've ever seen is 7 different software platforms in a practice. And holy buckets, I was very surprised by that. But typically we see like 2 to 7. And they're saying that it's expensive, but most importantly, it's inefficient for their teams, which at the end of the day does have a monetary value. Because like that client said, saving 8 hours a day, or not a day, a week.
A week, yeah.
That's a monetary value.
Well, so one of the things that I love, and you actually hit on one of my big hot and button issues here, and that is the number of clicks that it takes to do something. You know, it frustrated me greatly when I was using, can I say the name of another PMS? I think I can. I'm going to do it. All right, I was using Dentrix initially, all right? And I migrated over to Open Dental because of the fact that I was required to use 12 clicks to get to my patient chart notes from the front office view, as opposed to 3 clicks whenever I was in the chart view. And it occurred to me that that was a training nightmare, as well as being exceedingly inefficient. Now, I don't think that everyone necessarily thinks the way that I think, and I tend to be more of a tech guy than most people, and so I look at those inefficiencies. But that was horrible. And now I've been through CareStack University, and what I love is the uniform method that every single view has of accessing every piece of information. That means I have to train someone once, and my front office manager can be in the chart and click and get the same information that she could be on the scheduling side or in the accounting ledger or what have you. That to me is a huge benefit. But another one specifically on insurance is that it automatically points out when there's a problem. As soon as it's treatment planned, boom, big red exclamation point. Oh, what's this? That's not covered. That's insanely huge. I mean, it saves so much heartache. Do you know what the number one complaint patients have is about dental practices? There's 2 of them, 2 huge ones.
I'm probably going to say that they never know what they have to pay. So they leave either not paying, then they get a statement in their mail like me, who doesn't check their mail.
That's when they're upset. And you know, the thing is, it's not the dental office's fault. It's not the patient's fault. I always put it on the insurance because it's all the insurance's fault. They're not very forthcoming with information sometimes, particularly as a fee-for-service practice. So the problem, though, is that the patients still get angry at the practice, and they leave scathing reviews. This dentist is a ripoff. You know, I've seen these. And it's all over the fact that the insurance was quoted incorrectly, or they had to pay for something that they thought should be covered. When you have the power to make that statement immediately and say, oh, the computer's telling me that this particular service is not going to be covered by your insurance, so I just want to let you know that now. That's huge. You avoid all that stress and all that stomach lining and nasty reviews. I don't even know how to account for the value of that.
As a patient, that's something that's really important to me. I want to know how much I'm going to pay anywhere, because you have to understand that dental is one of the only places next to medical that you go that you don't know what you're going to pay. You don't go to a restaurant and wonder what you're going to pay at the end of it.
Absolutely.
You know, I go shopping. I know what I'm going to pay for that shirt, that pair of jeans. It's on the tag. Dental is one of the places you don't know. It's like, well, you need this. Well, how much is it? It could be $200. It could be $1,200. What is it? But now with the insurance, the intelligent eligibility form, it will tell you. And now the patient can say, you can have that honest conversation. Hey, it's not covered, but we do recommend that you have this service done because of X, Y, Z, or ABC.
Absolutely.
And now they're put on ease. They're not on defense mode of, well, am I going to get this huge check? Like, I have a ton of bills to pay. I just had a kid, whatever it may be. Now I know I need the treatment. It's $700. You know, I feel comfortable with that. I need it. Okay, I know how much I'm going to pay. Whereas if they don't know they're going to pay, they're going to say, I'll think about it. They leave. And now it's like a shopping game for them, or, hey, it can wait 8 months. When in reality, it probably can't wait 8 months. It's going to be really bad.
And you make a great point there. Dentistry is medicine, but it's not viewed in the same way that medicine is viewed. A lot of dentists, they'll think their competition is the dentist down the road. It's not. And it's one of the things I lecture on. Your competition is Best Buy. Your competition is Carnival Cruise Line. People don't see dentistry as necessary until they hurt, or unless something happens that makes them value a particular aspect of it. Let's say they chipped a tooth or something like that, and then they realize all of a sudden, oh, wow, I've got to take care of my smile. They don't think about it until there's an issue. And that's not how medicine is, or at least used to not be really how medicine was. I think the model there is perhaps transforming a bit into more of a consumer-based model. But you make a great point. It's not about whether or not they need that appendicitis or appendectomy rather, because they have an appendicitis. It's about are you going to take care of something that doesn't hurt right now, but your dentist is telling you is going to cost you $300, or you're going to buy that purse, or that nice pair of shoes, or that or the skinny black dress, right?
Been there, done that. But you're right. People don't know. I mean, before I worked in the dental industry, yes, I've had my fair share of dental issues. I've had the headgear, the expanders, the reconstructive jaw surgery. So I know what the value is of what my smile looks like. It's something I take pride in. But you're right. People don't know. It's like, it hurts right now, but I'll put some Orajel on it. It might get better.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. But right now it'll cost you $300. But in 8 months, if you let it continue on, it's not going to be $300 anymore. We're looking at $1,500 to fix it at that point.
Right.
And that's where the concern is. And you're right. The competition is Best Buy, what they're going to buy there instead of, I'm going to go buy the newest AirTags, newest Apple TV, whatever it may be, in place of getting.
They finally have a PlayStation 5 in stock at GameStop.
Oh my goodness. Those PlayStation 5s. My fiance got one, and those were the hardest things to find. I'm like, it should not be this hard to get a PlayStation.
Absolutely. And so talk to me a little bit about what the unique selling proposition is for group practices. Because I know that's a little bit different than it is for the solo practices, and particularly solo fresh start practices or build outs.
I mean, I think the big thing is going to be centralization. A lot of groups these days are wanting to centralize scheduling centers, call centers, their revenue cycle management, whatever it may be. They're really looking to centralize, but also they're seeing a lot of patient overlap across their organizations. Whether it's, hey, your home location can't get you in, so now you're going to go to this location for that emergency that you're having. So they really need to see all of those records across one single database. And I know this is a group that I was just working with. That's their big concern, that their patients cannot easily go location to location, and they're multi-specialty. So they have like 16 locations. So if that patient has gone to 5 different practices for 5 different things, they have 5 different records. And there's no way of communicating those back and forth. So if they need to know what was done at the last practice, they're picking up the phone, they're calling the practice, asking them, they're emailing over records when it's their own organization. So now they can just easily view it by logging into that patient's chart. So like aside from centralization and of course, minimizing the number of software subscriptions, I think those are the really big things they're looking for, especially on the insurance side. That same 16 location, that director of operations was telling me that they go into their system 16 different times, 16 different databases to put the same fee schedules in. And she said it takes her, anytime they update a fee schedule, to do it across all their locations could take her 3-4 days.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a work week right there. So one of the things I like, and one of the things I noticed, and I also have a follow-up question on this one, is as a patient on the patient-facing portal, if you go to make an appointment and you request a time, it's going to show you which offices have that time open. So they can schedule at any of your locations very, very easily to meet their time schedule needs, which is pretty big. I mean, I don't even know if there's another solution out there that allows that. That's not a custom-built solution.
I actually really don't know if there are any. I haven't really taken a look at them, but yes, it is great to allow those patients the ability to book with what works best for their schedules. Because that's the big thing also in dentistry. Well, or any appointment nowadays, it's, well,
Convenience.
what time do I go to the dentist? Or what time do I go to this appointment? Do I need to take the day off? Can I go at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock? Like whenever I have the ability. And now it's not calling and waiting to see on the phone. Well, let's find an appointment. Oh, well, now let me pull up the other locations system. It's, hey, here's all of your options, all within, you can decide a 25-mile radius. How far are you willing to drive for it? 10 miles, 50.
Right.
Here's all of the times. And like mornings work best for me. Mornings, perfect. And you get all of those options, which just makes life much simpler.
Well, absolutely. With a group practice, or rather, I should say, a group of practices, you might have a patient that works in the city, and they generally see, like, let's say I'm in Alvin, Texas. I'm 32 miles south of Houston, so they might be seeing me most of the time. But let's say they're at their job in Houston, and they crack a tooth, and they go on to make an appointment, and bam, you've got another location right there. They can go to that location. They can be served immediately. It removes what I like to call roadblocks to service, because we are a service industry. Anything that we put in the way of a patient doing something is another hurdle that we have to overcome, because let's face it, they don't want to come into the dentist anyway. So we need to be removing those blockades.
No, that's a great point. And like another thing with online appointment booking, I don't know if you've ever like booked an appointment anywhere or online or filled out any type of form. And it's like, especially with online appointment booking though, I'm guilty of it. When they have you fill out 100 questions before, I'm like,
I'm done.
hey, I can't finish this. I gotta go. Like
Yep.
I was trying to book an appointment in 5 minutes or less. And now this has become a 20-minute project. I'll just call them because I need to be in the car right now. I'll stick in my AirPods and I'll call them. Well, now with this, you can like limit what you're going to ask them. Just like in my environment, I only ask like for the basics: first name, last name, birthday, phone number, email. That's all I need to know to get that appointment booked. I can get the rest of that information by calling them putting it in their patient portal when they sign up for their appointment, whatever it may be. Because you want to get your appointment booked, because I might be able to book my appointment for Wednesday of next week. Well, I can fill out the forms over the weekend. I just don't have that time this very moment to do that, which is great. And then it's mobile optimized.
So let's say I have a patient. I'm going to give you a couple of different scenarios, and these are like grenades I'm throwing out there, because I don't know if we can do this, because I haven't used the patient scheduling portal much,
Okay.
other than a couple of times I trained in the university. All right, so a couple different questions. I'm a patient. I want to book with someone in this group practice, right, or this network of practices, and I've got Delta Premier, and I only want to see someone who's in network. Can I sort that appointment by who's in network and who's not? And if not, we need to add that.
So at this point in time, you can put the carrier of the insurance you have. We are looking into some additional functionality on that insurance
That doesn't
side.
surprise me. All
Filter
right.
those things out.
So very soon that will be there. I was wondering why you grinned, because you were like, we're getting that. Okay, so the next thing, let's say I'm a patient and I want to enter my information, but I don't feel like typing it. Can I take a picture of my insurance card and my driver's license and send them to the practice?
Also, that's a ironic question that you bring up. Not yet.
Okay.
I did see, we do have a Facebook group, like champions group for CareStack users. And there is something coming, as we are also developing an app to make viewing the schedule easier for our clients, basic patient demographic information instead of logging into the full-blown platform. So then, yes, patients will be able to also take photos of like driver's license,
Awesome.
insurance cards, and then upload them through the patient portal. It's funny you bring that up, because that is something I am very excited about.
Oh, I am too, because as like you said, your goal as a person making this appointment is to make it in less than 5 minutes. You don't want to hang out on your cell phone the whole time. If you do, you might as well just call somebody at the office. So I love that you guys always are introducing new things. It's hard for me as a spokesman for the product to keep up with everything that you've got coming out. That's why I always have to ask every time we have one of these conversations, do we do this yet? Because you're constantly rolling out new features. The value add there is just tremendous, because it's every time that I was using different software. We've covered some of the software I used. I used a lot of bolt-on products that do a lot of things that CareStack does now. But every time one of those softwares updated, nothing worked with any of the other softwares until they caught up. And like, let's say Open Dental would update, and let's say my paperless system didn't know about the update that was coming. All of a sudden, it didn't work for a couple of days until they had the paperless system updated. Or let's say Microsoft updated Windows. Everything could go to hell in a handbasket there, because that resets some settings that your IT guy has to make sure is set correctly for everything to function. That doesn't happen with CareStack or pretty much any well-run cloud-based program, because when you do updates, you can test them internally with not having to worry about what particular parameters an office has, which is amazing. I mean, you can't do that with just regular bolt-on software. You can't do that with something that's non-cloud.
No, it is nice that we can always do testing before it's delivered, because it's just through internet based. So it undergoes pilots, beta testing before it even hits the actual market, to ensure that it's running and operating functionally. And so like with CareStack, all you need is Google Chrome. Google Chrome, you can actually set to update automatically. Mine is set that I have to manually press the update button in the far right-hand corner. Mm-hmm. But to update that, it takes maybe 2 minutes. That's the only thing that needs updated, because CareStack updates are dropped automatically, usually on Fridays or Saturdays between like midnight and 4 a.m. So during non-operating business hours.
Well, what's magical about that for people who are not real tech savvy is that in general, what they call the testing bed, whenever you do a software update, it's limited to very specific operating systems, very specific boilerplate things that everyone's got. And so they might be testing it versus, an Adobe plugin or something like that. When you don't have to worry about those parameters, or even system RAM parameters or CPU parameters, or the way that Windows makes the computer operate, you don't have to worry about any of that, because CareStack is agnostic whenever it comes to what programs you use, because all it depends upon is that Chrome browser. And you can even run it. I've done this myself just to see how functional it was. It was a little hard navigating, but I've run it on my cell phone. I've pulled CareStack up and I've run it there, and because I just wanted to know, if I was out on the boat or something like that and a patient called and they were in pain, could I prescribe them medication and know that they weren't going to be allergic to it? So I wanted to see, could I pull up a patient record anywhere in the world? And that blew my mind that it was so easy to do,
Yeah, that is one of the best benefits of it. You can access it from anywhere. You can be on the boat. You could be on a trip. You could be anywhere in the world, like you said. I will admit that that's me, probably every Friday night. But as you said, if you're going to operate like CareStack on a cell phone, we definitely recommend it in landscape mode instead of portrait. But hence why the app is being developed. So that way you can easily search for a patient. You're not going to get full-blown CareStack. So you're not going to be able to, of course, edit like your patient engagement tools, do all of like the reporting and things like that. But you'll be able to view the schedule, pull up patient information. So you could easily see allergies, conditions, contact information. So that way you do know, hey, can I prescribe them amoxicillin, penicillin, whatever it may be.
Absolutely. I love that. So my last question for you is, what is the USP for new practice build-outs, scratch start practices? Let's say a kid leaves school. He says, I'm a dentist now. I want to start my own practice. He's stepping right out of school. He's done nothing before. He doesn't know anything. Why should he use CareStack? I have my own reasons, but I want to see what you have to say.
So as of recently, I've been working with a lot of startups, as I mentioned earlier, pediatrics especially. I don't know how they all seem to be falling on my lap, but I'm working with a lot of pediatric startups. And their big thing is not just centralization, and they're also adding up. They've done the demos of the third-party solutions. They've already added up what that monetary value is in their head, and they're realizing that it is, in their mind, cheaper than getting the server that is X thousands of dollars, getting all those third-party solutions, because that's what they want. They want the text reminders. They want analytics, because that's the generation we've grown up in. Everything is at our fingertips as well, and that's how they want their software. But also, I think it also comes down to user interface and updates. Imagine having an iPhone that never got an update. That's ridiculous. They update it all the time. They fix
Right.
bugs, they fix glitches. There's an update. The big update's once a year, but they do update it every month per se.
I
You have
downloaded one this morning.
12.1. Yeah, I haven't even gotten the new one, but like they have 14.1, 15.1, 15.2, whatever it may be. They want something that's growing and evolving with them. And it's really important to people that their feedback is heard and valued, which is something that CareStack does. We want the feedback because when we stop evolving, we're done growing at that point. We want to continue evolving and putting benefits and features into the platform that benefit dentistry as a whole. So we want people to say, hey, it should have this, it should have that. And we want to take that back to our clients and get their feedback on it and then implement it. CareStack runs at a very fast pace. It's fun. It keeps me on my toes. I'm aging quicker than I thought I would want to in my 20s. I've definitely aged like 10 years being here because like 1 year in CareStack is like 7 years in the real world. It's like dog years here because everything is changing so quickly. And like you were saying, you can't keep up with the updates. I can't even keep up with the updates. I was on a call with our implementation team and they're like telling a client, you can make this mandatory. I call them after, I'm like, I did not know you can make that field mandatory. And they're like, yeah, it's been here for about 2 weeks. Over my head. I had no idea. Thank goodness I was paying attention to what they were saying.
You know, what you're saying there is so true. And I was actually kind of startled by it because, you know, I've worked in dental tech for a while. I've worked with different companies developing software, and it's one of the things that I do. I'll poll my group and, you know, basically do some ground roots research for them to understand what things people need. And it's always amazed me how fast you guys move whenever it comes to implementation. I mean, you've got, if I'm not mistaken, your team works, your tech team, it's like a 24-hour cycle, right? Because you have multiple teams in multiple locations. And I know you've got like a ton of people over in India, but you've got some in the US as well, I believe. But I know that it's constant, like 24 hours a day. It never stops.
Yeah, so we just hired we now have over 300 employees in India. These are all of our coders, our engineers, our tech teams. And then everyone from like support, implementation, sales, account management is all in Orlando, Florida for the most part. I'm fortunate enough to be in Minnesota. There's a few of us scattered throughout the United States. We're not as lucky to live in the warm, beautiful sunshine state of Florida, but everyone else is front facing is in Florida. But yes, we are essentially 24 hours a day because the India team's a little like 10 and a half, 11 hours ahead of us. Mm-hmm. And we have coders and engineers who work American hours. So there's always resources available. So, I mean, we work from basically 7 to 5 p.m. I'm going off Central Standard Time. I know you're in Texas, Minnesota. So we're going off Central Time here. And then by the time we're off, it's morning over there. So they're starting their day. And then by the time we're waking up, it's the end of their day. So really, it is almost a 24-hour a day operation, which is really helpful, especially like for support. Like if you can't get a hold of our team between the hours of 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, there are people available after hours to take chats as well, who could help assist you if you are one of those people who is working at midnight and need help navigating something, running some type of report. We're always here to help. And I think that's a huge bonus. You don't have to wait. I'm guilty of it. I cannot stand waiting for support. If I wait longer than 10 minutes, I'm hanging up and I'm just red in the face. I'm frustrated.
Yep, absolutely. So for me, we were talking about the new startups. For me, it comes down to equipment costs, but also being able to hit the ground running with a lot of these more desirable third-party components that you would usually have to buy a whole bunch of subscriptions for. You know, you can start day one with online scheduling and be ahead of your competition. You can start day one with text to pay. I didn't realize how huge that was until I started talking to patients about it, and they got so excited. Oh, wait, you could just text me the bill? It blew my mind that you guys knew that market better than I knew it, because, I mean, these are my patients, right? And so the fact that you guys knew that was so desirable to patients, when it had never even occurred to me, like, why would I get that? But the patients love the idea. You know, it's kind of like online scheduling. The patients love it way more than dentists do. Dentists worry about their schedule. But for me, doing a startup, I'd want all those fancy bells and whistles without having to pay a whole bunch more for it. And, with CareStack, one subscription, at least in my group, is $5.99. You're going to be paying more than that if you have two services. I mean, literally two. I mean, and now, because everyone is required to use ePrescribe, people are, paying $199 a month for an e-prescription. You guys have that built in. It comes with the package for $5.99. That's crazy. So it's such a no-brainer to me. I don't understand why every new office doesn't open up with CareStack. Now, I understand why some offices are a little bit worried about changing over if they already have a PMS. And I get that. I've done it. About to do it again as soon as you guys work with Jarvis. But I get that. But man, it's so good. Why not make the switch and save some money too?
That's the thing. I mean, making a practice management software switch is huge. It's the equivalent of a heart surgery for a dental practice. You don't just get heart surgery because you want to. It is. I love that saying because you don't get a heart surgery because you want to. You don't get a heart transplant because, well, that sounds fun. No, it's because you need one. And that's where the software comes in. Hey, I need to update it because of security reasons, for financial reasons, whatever it may be. I mean, security is a huge thing right now.
Well, yeah. How many dental offices are you hearing about that are being shut off from all their data? And these guys are holding them hostage, telling them they have to pay them in crypto and all these things. And then it's a huge HIPAA concern on top of that. Who wants that kind of stomach lining issue? I don't.
No, I don't even want to tell you how many practices I've heard from in the last 3-4 months who have been attacked and who have paid those ransoms for crypto. And it's devastating to them. That's a huge financial burden to them.
It is.
And now the question is, well, was my data backed up? Yes, it was, but it's usually in snapshots. So now IT groups and software companies are piecing that together. Whereas if you're in the cloud, another cost to have it stored. They usually do a backup. You need the firewalls, but then they usually do some type of cloud backup now and another type of infrastructure to back up your data. So like with CareStack and other software companies are stored with other companies as well. You could have like Amazon. They have cloud backup services. We use Microsoft Azure on multiple redundancies. So there's never a question of, well, where's my data? What happens if one instance goes down? Well, if one grid goes down, it's backed up on another. And hopefully one grid doesn't go down, because I always joke, if a grid goes down, I don't think dentistry is the biggest concern at that point.
Right, exactly.
A grid just went down.
That gets into a whole different conversation. We'll save that for another day. But so talk to me a little bit about the backups. This is one of the things that I think people don't understand. So I'm going to ask you point blank. I've got x-rays. I've got CBCT. Can I back them up with CareStack on the cloud? And should I back them up with CareStack on the cloud?
For 2D images, yes, you can, and you most definitely should, because that gives you the ability to view them from home, to view them from other places in the world, other practices. Yes, I would highly recommend that, because if anything were to happen to that server, you were to get attacked, I would definitely recommend having images stored in the cloud infrastructure. 3D images are a little bit more difficult. Right now, we do recommend that those stay on-prem on some type of secure network, just due to the fact that their file size is so large.
Right. And
there's just not a solution out there right now that we've seen that we feel comfortable recommending that can give our clients the ability to pull down those clouds in a reasonable amount of time, but also to the quality that they're looking for. There are some very exciting ones under FDA approval that we're hoping to see by the end of the year. But again, that's 8 months out at this point. So we're going to recommend that 3D stay there until there is a solution that's fast enough to operate with CareStack, to bring those up to the cloud, store them, and then bring them back down again in a reasonable amount of time. Is sitting with a patient and waiting 2 minutes, 3 minutes for an image to come down, it's going to feel like eternity.
So I'm going to tell you where I think that solution is going to come from, and you can just smile and not say anything if I hit it correctly. There is a new process whereby machines, actual gaming machines, are virtualized, and you can rent them and you can use them on any device, no matter how capable that device is, and you can play your games on a high-level gaming PC on a cell phone or an iPad. And all of the technical specs are super, super high, but your computer can be like a Chromebook. It doesn't have to have those tech specs to play these, really awesome games. I think that is where the future is going to be for these 3D files, is actual virtualization of high-end graphics cards that basically you're not really doing a VPN because that slows things down. It's a little bit of a different process. It's hyper-threading something or other, I don't know. But I think that's where it's going to go.
There's some very exciting technology that's coming out, not just in the dental space, just for computers and networking and programming as a whole. So we're going to see some really cool innovation.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
I cannot confirm nor deny that, but there are, just with technology coming, there's going to be some real exciting enhancements, not just with CareStack, just as technology as a whole. Like you just said, for gaming, people can play games now in cars and things like that with those new systems that are coming out, because they're essentially cloud-based to some degree. So I guess there will be very exciting things in the future.
Absolutely. Actually, one of the pieces of tech that I saw that I'm really watching is something you place in your autoclave, and it sends a Bluetooth signal to your computer, and it can monitor the autoclave cycle to make sure that it was absolutely run. You'll never have to do another spore test. All of your records will be stored locally on the computer, and I can't see why they couldn't interface with CareStack. That would be just super cool. But that's...
What was that called?
We'll talk off camera.
Okay.
So, all right. What is the minimum technical specs that you need to run CareStack and do x-rays? Which is where I think things become a little tricky, because I can't plug my DEXA sensor into my iPhone, even though I can do almost everything else from it. So what are the minimum tech specs for those terminals in the rooms?
So the minimum system requirements are going to be, like, this is just minimum. We're going to need to see an Intel Core i3 or greater. We're definitely going to recommend something like an i5. As far as memory goes, 4 gigabytes is the minimum. Again, we're going to recommend 8. Mm-hmm. And we're definitely going to recommend Windows 10 as well, just because of the fact that, well, that's now for compliance reasons.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Pro is no longer supported, even though it was great. 10 is the standard now.
Exactly. I mean, of course, it can be run on other things. It's just not recommended, just for security reasons. Obviously, keeping Google Chrome up to date, trying to keep your computers up to date as best as you can. But you can operate CareStack itself on a Mac, which is a question I get a lot because I am a Mac user. So oftentimes when I am on calls with clients or potential clients, they'll always say, "Are you on a Mac?" Yes, I am on a Mac. So you definitely could use that. As well as like any type of Windows PC. But for imaging, we're always going to recommend that we capture on a Windows PC device. When imaging capture is not built for Macs, you could have Macs anywhere else in the practice.
Is that because the Twain drivers don't work as well on a Mac?
Yes, and just images, Macs just were truly not built for that. I mean, yes, you could have some type of parallel, but for from a user experience perspective,
wouldn't be as good. You're right.
I would not recommend a parallel. I use parallels for very minimal in my world, and I can't stand them. It's just not the best user experience. So we're going to recommend that all capture stations are Macs, and usually only have like 1 or 2 capture stations. It's not a ton usually, depending what it is. And then the rest of the computers, if you really want it to be a Mac practice, could be Mac, as you can always pull up those images on a Mac device, Apple iOS device.
Absolutely. I foresee in the very near future, with just a good industrial Wi-Fi, I can see having, in my practice, we have 75-inch screens in front of the patients. So I can put all of my images there, but it was very difficult because I had to run these customized HDMI extenders over Cat6, and I'm a tech guy. I got it to work. It was great, and our patients are really wowed by it. But right now, as light as CareStack runs, I can easily foresee taking CareStack, running it on a laptop in a room. You push one button, you do screen mirroring over to your 75-inch TV on the wall. image capture from the laptop, image appears on the wall, the patient sees it at the same time you do. Any photographs that you want to take, you can upload them directly through the SD slot on the laptop, push them out to the wall. No wires. That's so exciting to me. You know, it's
a big thing for people who want to run minimal practices. We have people who want laptops. They want imaging capture stations on a cart. So they're just going to bring the cart room to room as they need it. iPads, Surface Pros people are using to present treatment plans, to chart, to go over things with patients. Surface Pros have the right clicking functionality, which is also needed for CareStack. So you could actually run CareStack as a whole off of that tablet device and never need a computer again.
Yeah, and you can buy a Surface Pro with 8 gigs of RAM, 256 gigabyte hard drive, and an i5 for $479 right now. I know, I just bought one for my
I'm very impressed that you know that off the top of your head.
Well, I bought one for my daughter this morning. She broke hers.
Okay.
So I told her, I said, all right, now this is your birthday present. Because she was going to save up her money and buy one. And she started looking at them. She was like, I really want the one that's only $100, Dad. And I was like, that won't run anything. Let's going to get you a better one. So that I'm not that up on things. I just happen to know because this morning I was shopping. But yeah, I mean, you can outfit your ops for so much less. And another thing is the cabinetry. A lot of us have this very expensive dental cabinetry because we have to house our towers in there, you know, and that's where the chase is, or the hollow space for all of the cords and all the cables and all of the, you know, accoutrements of this computer beast that we have to have in every single operatory. And then it gets hot because it's running inside this cabinet. We don't have to have any of that anymore. You can have a very aesthetic, very simple aesthetic, much like your room behind you right here, you know, very, very simple. And you don't have to have all this junk. I can only imagine that would make the environment even more comforting because patients, well, they're used to all this dental junk around them. And if you can change that perception, change the smells and the sights and the sounds of your dental practice, you can treat patients who are anxious without having to drug them up or, you know, or what have you. And you can have a lot of patients who go out and tell everybody else about you. And that's the best marketing there is.
Word of mouth. There is nothing better than that. There's no dollar amount that you can pay higher than a good word of mouth. Like in a mother-daughter group, whatever, there's Facebook groups for everything these days.
Absolutely.
Word of mouth is huge.
So guys, you have wasted another hour of your life listening to the sound of my voice drone on. I do thank you for being a supporter of the Dear Doc podcast and for joining us for another episode. Nicole, I'm going to give you the last words here. Is there anything that I should have asked you? Is there anything that you wanted to say that you didn't get a chance to say? Or do you just have some advice to give our listeners before we leave?
You know, I think you did a great job with all the questions. I appreciate you inviting me on here today. It means the world for you to host us. But I don't think I really have anything in closing thoughts. Any startups, definitely take a look at going cloud-based, whether it's CareStack or any other platform out there, if you are trying to achieve that minimalistic look in the practice and not spend thousands of dollars on the servers to have in place. But like, best of luck to everyone. Obviously, there's a lot of fun things coming with technology, and it's very exciting to see where it's going to go in the future.
Excellent. Well, guys, thanks again. This is Doc signing off.
Thanks for listening to the Dear Doc podcast, your source for the business and legal questions associated with your dental practice. Don't forget to subscribe to the Dear Doc podcast on all major platforms.